To wear the crown, from the streets to the skies, we'll break them chains. Place your minds on far-fetched flame.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of Africa's emerging content creators. We've got a fascinating mix here. Video excerpts, articles, podcast mentions, all pointing to a shift in how the world sees Africa.
It really is exciting to see this new generation taking control of the narrative, sharing their own stories and challenging those long-held perceptions.
Yeah, you've probably seen the headlines, focusing on all the challenges Africa faces.
Right.
But these creators are showcasing a different side, the vibrancy, innovation, the sheer diversity of the continent. And it's resonating. It really is resonating with a global audience.
What I think is so fascinating is how these creators are using their platforms to highlight the positive aspects of life in Africa while still acknowledging the complexities, of course.
Right, exactly. Take Tayo Anina, for example. This Nigerian filmmaker, a travel content creator, has over 1 million YouTube subscribers. And his work is seriously eye-opening.
His videos focusing on African cities, architecture, and lifestyles offer such a fresh perspective. And he doesn't shy away from showing the realities of life in these places, but he does it with such a positive, upbeat energy.
I think you can really see that in his use of drone footage.
Oh, absolutely.
He captures the scale and beauty of these cities in a way we rarely see in the mainstream media. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he also brings in the personal stories of residents, letting them speak for themselves. It's not just about showcasing beautiful landscapes. It's about showcasing the resilience and the creativity of everyday people.
And it's clearly having an impact, right? He won the Future Awards Africa Prize for Content Creation in 2022, which is a pretty big deal. It shows how these African creators are gaining recognition for their work and for their contributions to these global conversations.
Absolutely, and this recognition is spreading. Stephen Nduku, another Nigerian content creator, he's also gaining a lot of attention for his work, showcasing African tourism and entrepreneurship.
He's really tapped into this desire that people have to see Africa beyond the usual headlines. He's highlighting the beauty, the opportunities that exist. And it's attracting global interest.
And it's not just about attracting tourists, is it? It's about showcasing African innovation and entrepreneurship to the world. He was even chosen for the YouTube Black Voices Creator Class in 2022, which is a testament to the growing, I think, global interest in these voices.
Okay, but get this. We're not just talking about YouTubers here. There's this incredible story about a self-taught car manufacturer in Lesotho. His name's Lou.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. He builds all-terrain vehicles from scratch, using his ingenuity to overcome any limitations that he faces.
I mean, imagine starting as a car repair mechanic with limited formal education and ending up building cars that are specifically designed for this challenging African terrain.
What stands out to me is his resourcefulness. Faced with financial constraints, he sources materials locally, even using scrap parts to bring his vision to life. He's not letting anything hold him back.
And it's not just about building cars either, right? He's also working with local youth, training them in practical skills, offering them opportunities. It's like he's building a whole ecosystem around his passion.
He's creating this ripple effect, empowering others, showing them what's possible. It's a reminder that innovation can happen anywhere, regardless of your background or resources.
Speaking of unique stories, have you heard about the Lemba people of Southern Africa? They're a community with long-held Jewish traditions and practices, which is pretty unexpected.
Yeah, it's a fascinating example of the diversity and the complexity of African culture. They practice kosher dietary laws, they observe the Sabbath, and they even practice circumcision, and these customs have set them apart from their neighbors for centuries.
When the wider Jewish community first learned about them, there was a lot of skepticism. I mean, it's not every day you discover a community on the other side of the world practicing these ancient traditions.
No, it's not. And their story takes an even more complex turn during South Africa's apartheid era. You see, they were caught between racial categories, facing isolation from both black and white communities.
Yeah, it makes you think about the arbitrary nature of those classifications and the impact they had on people's lives. The Lemba people were essentially ostracized for being different.
But then DNA testing came into play, and it confirmed a genetic connection between the Lemba and the Kohanim, the Jewish priestly caste. Their oral history passed down through generations was validated by science.
That's incredible. It's like a piece of the puzzle falling into place, connecting them to their ancient past. It also raises a lot of questions about Jewish identity and how it's defined.
Right. Is it about genetics? Is it about religious practice? Cultural identity? It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
And it highlights the importance of understanding different perspectives and challenging our own assumptions.
Speaking of understanding different perspectives, there's this podcast. It's called the Africa Creator Podcast. It's hosted by Tayo Aina and Wande Thomas. And they're doing some really interesting work.
Oh, I've heard about one. It's a platform for African creatives to share their experiences and insights, right? They cover everything from architecture and fashion to entertainment and technology.
It's a great resource for anyone who wants to get a deeper understanding of the breadth of the African creative industry. They interview creators from all over the continent, giving them a space to share their stories and perspectives.
It's like a window into a world that we rarely get to see. And it's not just about showcasing talent. They also talk about the challenges these creators face.
Yeah, they discuss things like access to funding, dealing with censorship, and navigating the complexities of the global market. It's about giving a voice to those who are often marginalized and helping them overcome the barriers they face.
It's also about building a community and fostering collaboration, right? Like the African Content Creators Summit, where creators from across the continent come together to share their experiences and learn from each other.
That's a great example of the growing movement to connect and empower African creators. They discuss challenges, exchange best practices, and collaborate on projects that have real impact. It's about amplifying their voices and creating a force for change. And it's inspiring to see how these platforms, how they're helping African creators build their careers, connect with global audiences, and actually, make a real difference in their communities.
They're challenging us to rethink our assumptions about Africa, right? I mean, they're showing us that it's not a monolith. It's a continent brimming with diverse cultures, perspectives, and experiences.
It's about recognizing that Africa is not a place that needs to be fixed or saved. It's a place with its own solutions, its own strengths, its own stories to tell.
And these creators are telling those stories with passion, with creativity, and authenticity. They're not shying away from the complexities, but they're also highlighting the beauty, the resilience, the ingenuity that exists across the continent.
Yeah, it's like they're holding up a mirror to the world and saying, this is who we are, this is what we're capable of, and we're not going to be defined by your limited perceptions anymore.
When we were talking about Lou earlier, the thing that really struck me was his commitment to empowering others. It's not just about his own success. It's about using his skills and his knowledge to uplift his community.
Right. He's not just building cars, he's building dreams. He's showing young people that they can achieve anything they set their minds to, even if they face challenges and setbacks along the way.
It's like he's creating this ripple effect of inspiration and empowerment. And that's something we see again and again with these African creators. They're using their platforms to lift others up, to create opportunities, to spark change.
And it's not just about individual active empowerment. It's about changing the systems that have held people back for generations. It's about creating a more equitable and just society where everyone has the chance to thrive.
I think that's what makes this whole movement so exciting. It's not just about changing perceptions, it's about creating a better future for Africa and for the world.
It's about shifting the balance of power, amplifying marginalized voices, and building a world that's more inclusive, more diverse, and more representative of the incredible tapestry of human experience.
It's funny, when we started this deep dive, I thought we'd be focusing mostly on individual creators and their stories. But it's become so much more than that.
It's about a whole movement, a cultural shift, a reclaiming of narrative that's happening across the continent. It's about Africans taking control of their own stories and sharing them with the world on their own terms.
And the world is listening. These creators are gaining global audiences. They're influencing trends, shaping conversations, and making their mark on the world stage.
They're proving that Africa is not a place to be pitied or feared, but a place to be celebrated, learned from, and engaged with.
It's about time, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And the most exciting part is that this is just the beginning. As access to technology and global platforms continues to expand, we can expect even more diverse and powerful voices to emerge from Africa.
It's like we're witnessing the birth of a new era, a new renaissance of African creativity and innovation. And it's going to change the world in ways we can't even imagine yet.
While we're on this topic, I keep thinking back to the Lemba people. Their story really resonated with me, especially that part about DNA testing confirming their oral history. It's like science and tradition coming together in this really powerful way.
I know, right? It makes you wonder how many other stories are out there waiting to be discovered. How many hidden connections we haven't even begun to unravel.
Yeah, it's a reminder that history is not always a straight line, that cultures intersect and influence each other in complex and often unexpected ways.
And it challenges us to think critically about how we defined identity, belonging, and heritage. It's not always as simple as we think.
It's about recognizing the fluidity and the complexity of human experience, the ways in which our stories are intertwined across time and continents.
And speaking of intertwined stories, let's talk about the lost tribes of Israel for a moment. It's one of those topics that always sparked my curiosity.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The idea that these groups scattered throughout Africa might have a connection to the ancient Israelites. It's both intriguing and thought-provoking.
I mean, we already talked about the Lemba people, but there are other groups, like the Beta Israel of Ethiopia, who've maintained strong Jewish traditions for centuries.
Right. They've observed the Sabbath, practiced circumcision, and adhered to kosher dietary laws despite being geographically and culturally isolated from the wider Jewish world.
And in the 20th century, Israel's chief rabbinate officially recognized the Beta Israel as Jews, which led to their mass immigration to Israel. It's like a modern-day exodus, a return to their ancestral homeland after centuries of diaspora.
It's a powerful story of resilience and the enduring connection to their roots, and it raises all sorts of questions about what it means to be Jewish, about how identity is formed and preserved over time.
And about the role of oral history in preserving cultural memory. It's fascinating how these traditions have survived for so long, passed down through generations.
It speaks to the power of storytelling, the importance of community, and the human need for belonging.
It also makes you think about how much we don't know about the past. How many stories are waiting to be uncovered? How many connections we have yet to make?
It's a reminder that history is not static. It's constantly evolving as we discover new evidence, new perspectives, new ways of understanding the past.
And that's what makes it so exciting. We're always learning, always discovering, always expanding our understanding of the world and our place in it.
You know, one thing that stands out to me is the resilience of these communities. They've faced persecution, discrimination, and forced assimilation, yet they've managed to preserve their traditions and maintain a strong sense of identity.
It's a testament to the human spirit, the strength of belief, and the importance of community.
And it's a reminder that diversity is not just something to be tolerated, it's something to be celebrated. It's what makes our world richer, more vibrant, and more interesting.
It's about recognizing that our differences are our strengths, that we can learn from each other, and that we're all connected in ways we may not even realize.
Yeah, it's about embracing the tapestry of human experience, with all its complexities and contradictions.
And it's about being open to new perspectives, challenging our assumptions, and expanding our understanding of the world.
And about recognizing that we all have a story to tell, and that those stories, when shared, can have the power to connect us, inspire us, and change the world.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about how all these stories woven together, they paint a picture of Africa that's so different from what we often see in the media.
And that's precisely what makes this whole wave of content creators so impactful. You know, they're not just individuals sharing their work, it's like they're collectively reshaping the global narrative about Africa.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, we're here, we're diverse, we're talented, and we're not going to be silenced anymore.
And they're doing it through a variety of mediums: filmmaking, photography, music, fashion, technology. They're really showcasing the full spectrum of African creativity and innovation.
It's exciting to see how they're using their platforms to challenge stereotypes, address social issues, and inspire change. It's not just about entertainment, it's about using their voices to make a difference.
Yeah, and they're finding a global audience that's hungry for these new perspectives. You know, people are tired of the same old narratives. They want to see the world through different lenses, to hear authentic voices, to connect with something real.
And these creators are providing that connection. They're building bridges of understanding, fostering empathy, and showing us that despite our differences, we share more in common than we might think.
Yeah, it's a reminder that human connection, it transcends borders, languages, and cultures. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, even in the face of all this diversity.
You know, one thing that really strikes me is the sense of optimism that comes through in their work. They're not just pointing out the problems, they're offering solutions, they're building something new. They're creating a better future.
They're not waiting for someone else to come in and fix things. They're taking matters into their own hands, using their creativity and ingenuity to shape their own destinies.
It's incredibly inspiring to see this energy, this drive, this belief in the power of their own voices. It makes me feel hopeful about the future, not just for Africa, but for the world as a whole.
Yeah, it's a reminder that change is possible, that even in the face of challenges, there's always hope. Always the possibility of a brighter tomorrow.
And these creators are leading the way, showing us what's possible when we embrace our differences, use our voices, and work together to build a more just, equitable, and inspiring world.
They're proving that Africa is not just a place of poverty and conflict, as it's so often portrayed. It's a place of immense beauty, resilience, creativity, and innovation.
And it's a place that's it's brimming with stories waiting to be told, perspectives waiting to be shared, and voices waiting to be heard. It's time we start listening.
So the next time you're looking for something to watch, read, or listen to, I encourage you to seek out these African creators. You won't be disappointed.
You might even be surprised by how much you learn, how much you're inspired, and how much your perspective on the world is broadened. It's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely. It's a journey that will challenge you, enlighten you, and ultimately it'll leave you feeling more connected to the world around you.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep an open mind. The world is full of amazing stories just waiting to be discovered.
And remember, the more we listen to diverse voices, the richer our understanding of the world becomes.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Africa's emerging content creators. It's been a truly inspiring journey.
It's been a privilege to share these stories with you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Be well. Motivation, signing off.
The ground, from the streets to the skies, and we'll break them chains. Place your minds on a far-fetched plane.